Is the hardest consulting interview not even a case study? Well, I would argue yes. The McKinsey PEI, which stands for Personal Experience Interview, is something that a lot of people struggle with and ends up costing them a McKinsey offer. But after this video, you'll have all the tools to really nail this kind of interview. Hi, my name's Henry. I'm an incoming BCG consultant, founder of the Consulting Axis, and I've taught students from over 55 countries how to crack consulting interviews, with many getting offers from top tier consulting firms. So the tips I give in this video are tried and tested to work. So what actually is this interview? Well, it lasts for 45 minutes and it aims to test the soft skills needed to be a great consultant. And it normally consists of one main question with potentially up to 25 follow-on questions. So the main question will ask you to explain a situation in your life where you've shown a certain skill or maybe something that you're proud of, and it will always be based on the four main areas that McKinsey care about. So these are personal impact, entrepreneurial drive, inclusive leadership, and problem-solving skills. So what are some examples of this big question? Well, it could be something like, tell me your biggest achievement to date. Tell me a time where you were working in a team and you had a conflict and how you overcame it. Or potentially, tell me a time where you had a difficult situation and using your communication skills helped you get through it. Now, before I tell you how to ace this sort of interview, I think it's really important to understand why they're used. Well, McKinsey did lots of analysis and they found that people that did really well in the case interviews didn't necessarily turn out to be the best consultants, and this is because they were missing out on the biggest part of being a consultant, which is all of those soft skills, and that is why they added this interview into the process. So what should you do to prepare for these sort of interviews? Well, I think the first thing you need to do is to look at the four key areas and think about situations in your life where you've shown these skills. And in terms of what situations you should think about, I think it's really important here to focus on quality rather than quantity. Don't just think about lots of little stories that you could talk about. Focus on thinking about the really detailed ones that you could talk about for quite a long time. So now you've got potential answers and situations to the big question, you need to think about those follow-up questions. So for each situation, think about what they could ask you and then plan your answers. Now, it's much easier to have pre-planned answers in an interview than to try and make up on the spot. Now, they may ask you a question that you haven't thought about before, but if you do a lot of preparation, that's far less likely to happen. But how do you actually answer the questions? What do you say about your experiences? Well, the format that I always recommend is the STAR plus reflection structure. So the first thing you need to do is to explain the situation. What is the context, and what does your interviewer need to know to understand the overarching story? Then you need to focus on the task, what needed to be done. So for example, if the question was what is your biggest accomplishment, then the task is what you wanted to achieve. Then we get on to the most important part of this answer, which is the action. What did you do to make this task a success? Now, I think it's super important here to focus on what you did. They're interviewing you, so they don't really care what someone else did in this story. And then the result. What happened because of your actions, and how was the task a success? Now, most people just leave it here and say use the STAR structure, but it forgets something really important that consulting firms want to see in you, and that is reflection. So talk about something that maybe went slightly wrong and you would have done different next time. Now, some people think that it's never a good idea to talk about something bad in an interview, but that's simply not true. All this shows consulting firms is that you're willing to learn from past experiences, and this is crucial in a consulting job because no one goes into one and is just fundamentally a great consultant. That just doesn't happen. So you need to learn as you go. So to recap this video, in order to nail the McKinsey PEI, you need to think about potential main questions they could ask and situations that would help you answer those sort of questions. Then you need to think about what potential follow-up questions they could ask, and you need to practice this as much as you can, making sure to remember the STAR plus reflection structure. So I really hope this video helps. If you've got any questions, then let me know in the comments, but for now I wish you all the very best of luck with your consulting interviews.